back, therefore we are back. Dames, Darryl Timmers of Pro Racing Ontario, delighted to discuss some F1.
Yes, I'm very, very, very excited to talk about this summer break and this race that just happened in Spa.
We can talk about the race. It wasn't much of a race.
Yeah.
Max Verstappen looks more astronaut piloting a spaceship than he does driver piloting a car. So let's just put that off on the back burner for a second, and let's talk driver market.
Wow.
The last podcast we did, we only knew Seb was retiring, and then literally as we did the podcast, Alonso said he was going over to Aston, and then it was like, all right, well, we are
then
great.
Everything just
and
went
then there were tweets, there were confirmations from others. Most recently, Daniel Ricciardo finds himself without a seat.
Yeah.
Where do we want to start in terms of driver market right now?
I think we just start at the beginning with Piastri and Alonso and this whole Vettel and that whole scenario. You know, I think what I've come to is that Alonso wanted a multi-year deal. Alpine wouldn't give it to him. He turned around and went to Aston Martin and said, "Hey, I'll come to you guys if you give me a multi-year deal." Stroll said, "Check, please. Here you go." And gave it to him, and then that just started a frenzy. It was crazy. Alonso's looking for a little bit more of security because he is getting older now. He has to know, like, he wants to be in F1. He's performing still in F1, but I don't think a lot of the teams are looking at a future with Alonso. It's more like, okay, are we going to get another season? Okay, are we going to get another season? So I think he wanted a multi-year deal out of it, and Alpine wouldn't give it to him. So then when that started, now Piastri was like, okay, cool, I'm going to McLaren. And Alpine's like, wait a minute, you have a contract with us saying that you're racing with us in 2023, so that's not happening. And he's like, well, I'm leaving anyways.
Right. And
so actually today,
they're having the debrief right now while we're shooting this right now. So pardon us as this comes up on YouTube and on the DSPs to listen to as a podcast. The information may have come down that he is indeed going to race with McLaren. Or not so much. He's going to race with Alpine. Puts them in a difficult spot. You know, Otmar Safnauer has been like, I wish he had more integrity, but at the same time, you've had this kid under lock and key. He won everything for 3. You haven't put him in a seat. And it's not to say Ocon doesn't deserve the seat or Alonso doesn't deserve the seat, but it's just like, now here you are, down the line, you have this great talent, and you couldn't really provide him with anything. So how can we sit down and knock him or Weber for finding him an opportunity?
No, I agree. I totally agree. You know, it's just weird that, last year at the end of the season, we were like, it sucks that Piastri is not going to be in the seat this year. And, he's such a talented driver. He needs to be, some team needs to capitalize on having such talent on the sideline, like with him and Nick DeVries. Like, those guys should be in cars.
100%.
And then now, all of a sudden, they're like, oh, crap, we just lost Alonso. Okay, yes, we have Piastri. And Piastri's like, nah, I'm going to go to McLaren because of this. Right. But at that point, it's an option for McLaren, for Piastri to do it or not. It's not, they don't have him signed to 2023. They have him as a development driver for 2022 and with the option to sign for 2023.
Right.
It's not, this court battle is not going to do anything. In the end, I think Piastri is going to be able to do whatever he wants. It's not like, something like the Pato Award stuff with McLaren, or sorry, not Pato Award, but Palau with Ganassi, where he has a contract with them.
He's in until
for next season, and Ganassi's like, well, you're our driver, and this contract says it. You look at the Piastri stuff; it doesn't say that he's a driver for 2023.
He's a development driver.
He's a development driver. So
with an option.
At that point, he has the option to choose to go to a team or be a development driver again. And before this whole Alonso stuff blew apart, and there was a spot at Alpine. There wasn't a spot at Alpine. They were just like, Piastri, you're going to be our backup driver again. And he's like, okay, well, I'm going to McLaren then. And
that's the thing, because from his side of things, and we understand Fernando Alonso is a big deal in the sport, but Piastri's sitting down and he's going, look, I've been sitting here. You guys have been promising me something. But what you never told me was it was only if Alonso wasn't coming back. So how does that make him feel? Where is his value as a young man having won everything leading up to Formula One? Right?
A lot of teams want that kid. Like, he is a talented driver. There is no way of looking at it except he is raw talent.
Well, look at the guys in the sport who are doing things now.
Yeah.
The likes of Russell, Leclerc. All of them pretty much have the same thing. They come through the rank, they win quickly, they dominate, win the championship, and then their seat is there. And now he's been sitting on the sidelines for how long? De Vries kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And on the tail end of all of this, Daniel Ricciardo finds himself seatless for 2023.
And that's a weird option too, because he has the option to come back to McLaren or not to come back to McLaren. And he was deciding to stay with McLaren, like in his eyes, but obviously Zach Brown had a different plan for him. And they've come to the conclusion now, when they've had a mutual agreement to leave, with what I've heard, it's a very heavy check of
24 million, 2025, somewhere around that
somewhere
area.
Between there, that they're going to be paying him off to get him out of his contract. They also offered him the IndyCar ride, which I personally think Ricciardo will do a really good job in IndyCar. He has the attitude. He has that, the fan base. Like he's
I like the move for him.
He's a complete package,
the move for him. 100%.
But they were going to give him one of the Aero Schmidt rides, and he said no to it. So I think he's still kind of in the mix of I'm not done with F1 yet. I have some unfinished business here.
But is F1 done with you?
F1 fans, no. Everyone, ever since
they get him in the commentary box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
I think F1 is done with Daniel Ricciardo for now. I don't really want to say it, but let's be honest. Since he left Red Bull, he went to a project in Renault, Alpine,
which he
did all right. They improved the car. He had, I think, he finished P4 the first year. He got a podium the second year. Right.
And then he win for them.
No, that was McLaren.
He got a podium. Sorry.
So he jumped over. When he jumped over to McLaren, he got a win. I think it was Imola, the Italian Grand Prix, right? But it hasn't amounted to really any consistency over there. And I think on the back end of things, what's really happening is Lando is just kind of serving him.
Yeah.
His lunch,
And Lando's almost in a good position because he only knows the McLaren. So he doesn't know what a bad car is and what a good car is. He just knows this is the car I've always had to drive in F1, and I've learned how to drive this car.
Similar to George, how George is performing. Every race, top 5, and it's like, well, I've been in a Williams. Anything from this is an upgrade.
Exactly. So it's just how easy it is to drive. And now with the McLaren, it's like, Lando's even struggling. He says, I'm struggling in this car. You saw it this weekend. He was struggling in this car. It's not like he isn't struggling. It's just he's outperforming his teammate. And when you outperform your teammate and your teammate is actually the more experienced one, it's not a good look for you in the end. We've said all year, Ricciardo's struggling with a little bit of mental stuff right now because there's a lot of backlash of him not beating his teammate, especially from last year to this year. And everyone thought, okay, it's a new year. It's a second year in the car. He might get rolling more.
Not only that, it's a neutral car to start. Nobody knows what the regulations will bring, right?
Exactly. So I think in the end, it's something that was a little bid of a tough situation for Ricciardo to get into. We all thought he was going to be able to persevere through it, but it ended up being, he struggled and struggled and struggled, and he still struggles. So, maybe this could be something like a Magnussen thing where, he needed a reset. He needed to come back to F1 and be like, I need to relax, and then all of a sudden start performing.
Yeah.
So I think maybe, there is talk of him getting into that Haas car. There's talk of him getting into the other Alpine seat. There's another place at AlphaTauri.
There's the talk. The talk is everywhere right now because Mick Schumacher's in the talk.
Yeah.
Pierre Gasly's in the talk.
Yep.
Ricciardo's in the talk.
Exactly.
We got Piastri in the talk.
Yep.
Mentioned a couple guys. De Vries.
De Vries is supposed to be coming in for Williams. There's lots of talk that there's a lot of random seats that still haven't been filled. The number one driver on the teams, like a Gasly of AlphaTauri and the Ocon of Alpine and stuff like that are coming back for next season, are already confirmed. But those second drivers it's going to be a messy situation. And I think today will be the start of all the dominoes are going to start falling into place just because, once Alpine figures out what the heck's going on with Piastri, then now if Piastri has to stay with Alpine, that spot is taken. Okay, nope. McLaren's getting is getting Piastri, so Piastri's going to McLaren. So now there's a spot at Alpine available.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I think this whole entire trial is what's holding up everyone signing their people.
Yeah.
And I think after the next week or so, we're going to find out a little bit more and more about who's going where and what, because I think it's just one piece needs to fall into place, and then the rest of the puzzle comes through.
Right.
And I think right now, Ricciardo is definitely in a position where he would help a backmarker team, develop a little bit more, because he has lots of talent. He has a lot of development, behind him. So he would be good for a team like a Haas or, even Williams, or going to AlphaTauri and backing up on Gasly, and that's a good car to be in if he can get inside that spot.
Provided Gasly's still there.
Yeah. Gasly's signed for this season, next season. But
the contract don't mean nothing.
No, it doesn't.
The contract don't mean nothing. This is what we're it's been explaining to people when you see the stuff go out there and the comments start filling up, and it's like a contract is worth only the paper that it's on.
Because look at
you can get out of it, and it's not. And that goes like even when you think of like Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump, like there was a non-disclosure agreement signed there.
Yep.
Who cares?